Welcome back to O-Level Oasis, your trusted partner in CAIE exam preparation. Today, we'll be diving into another topical past paper practice from Chapter 9, the Human Gas Exchange System. You'll find the question paper attached both in the description and pinned in the comments, so make sure to check it out as we solve it together. So, let's begin. We'll begin with a theory-based paper 2 question. The question says, air pollution by carbon dioxide is contributing to global warming. Then they ask us to explain how the increasing concentration of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere is causing global warming. Now, we'll answer this question by explaining the greenhouse effect step by step, starting with the fact that carbon dioxide is a greenhouse gas, then mentioning how sunlight enters the atmosphere, and finally describing how heat is trapped by carbon dioxide, preventing it from escaping into space and thus causing global warming. So, we will simply write the answer, that carbon dioxide is a greenhouse gas and causes the greenhouse effect. Energy from the sun can penetrate the atmosphere. The heat energy is absorbed or trapped by carbon dioxide, which prevents heat from escaping into space, leading to global warming. Alright, we have the question. Figure 4.1 shows a human bronchiole and some of the specialized cells from the inner layer that surrounds the lumen. They've also given a diagram with labels, showing cartilage, lumen, a layer of muscle tissue, the bronchiole inner layer, and two labeled points, X and Y. Now, the first part asks us to name the cell labeled X and describe its function. So, we will simply write the X is a goblet cell, and the function of goblet cells is to produces or secretes mucus, and the mucus traps bacteria, pathogens, dust, or other particles. That's a 3-mark question, so we make sure to mention both the mucus production and its protective role. Then, in the second part, it asks us to name the cell labeled Y and describe its function. So, we will write, Y is a ciliated cell, and its function is that it moves mucus away from the lungs or out of the airways. That's how we'll write both parts clearly, first identifying the cells, then describing their functions in short, accurate statements to earn full marks. Alright, so let's look at this next part carefully. It says, the muscle layer in the walls of the bronchi and bronchioles sometimes contracts, causing the lumens to narrow. This is called bronchoconstriction, one substance that triggers contraction, and that substance is nicotine. Now, part 1 asks, suggest the effects of bronchoconstriction on a person. So, we will simply write, when bronchoconstriction occurs, the airways narrow, allowing less air and oxygen to enter the lungs and blood. This reduces the oxygen-reaching cells and muscles, limiting aerobic respiration and increasing anaerobic respiration, which lowers energy production and reduces the ability to exercise. Then, the next part asks, describe one effect of nicotine on the circulatory system. Here we will write, nicotine increases blood pressure by constricting arteries, leading to reduced blood flow. It also promotes atherosclerosis, increases blood clotting, and raises heart rate, putting extra strain on the heart and increasing the risk of cardiovascular diseases. Alright, back to the paper 1 questions, so let's look at this next multiple choice question and go through it step by step. The question says, the percentages of each of the gases in inspired and expired air are measured when a student is resting and when a student is exercising. And the results are shown in the table. Now the question asks, from the data, which statement is not correct? We have to identify the false option. So, let's go through the options one by one. Option A shows the difference between the percentages of carbon dioxide in expired air when exercising and in expired air when resting is 1.5. This is correct because the difference is indeed 1.5. Option B is also correct as, when resting, the difference between the percentage of oxygen in inspired and expired air is due to oxygen being used by respiration in the body. This is correct because the body uses oxygen during respiration. Option C tells that inspired air contains 52.5 times more oxygen than carbon dioxide. Now, this is incorrect because inspired air actually contains 525 times more oxygen than carbon dioxide, not 52.5 times. And option D shows the percentage of oxygen taken from inspired air is correctly interpreted. This is correct because it accurately reflects oxygen usage during respiration. Therefore, the only statement that is not correct is option C.